Hi, this is James Page at the Inca Conference 2023, and I am really pleased to say that I've managed to literally drag through the crowd and from the stage Sue Charman Anderson. Sue, thank you for coming and talking to us. Very popular. We just managed to get 5 minutes of your time. Really interesting session. Clearly lots of people interested in what you were talking about and your colleagues on the panel were talking about. But before we get into some of that, can I just ask you to give us a little bit of explanation of how you came to set up the Ada Lovelace Day and what that's all about?
So I founded Ada Lovelace Day in 2009. I come from a tech background and I had been going to a lot of conferences where there were not very many women on stage. One particularly memorable one where there were 100 people in the room and I was literally the only woman there. And the original impetus was to say, look, there are all these women that I knew in tech. We just need to raise their profile and we need the conference organisers to know they exist. And that was kind of how it started. But it very rapidly expanded into this day celebrating women in science, technology, engineering and maths. And now 15 years later, or thereabouts, we've just had our 15th Ada Lovelace Day. And it's turned into this amazing global movement. We have people organising their own Ada Lovelace Day events across the UK, across America, but also South America, across Africa, Asia, and across Europe. So we really do have this sort of whole network of people now who are looking at the state of women in STEM and saying, look, there are some amazing women that we've just never heard about, we need to talk about, and we need to support young girls who are thinking about studying STEM and women who are already working in STEM jobs. Because it can get a little lonely if you're the only woman in an all-male environment.
Okay, well, let's talk about that a little bit, because you've been on an all-female panel in potentially a not very female room, but we're at Inca's conference. Do you have a sense of where the balance is maybe in our particular industry?
Looking out over the audience, I could definitely see there were maybe not that many women attending. When you think about other STEM areas, so there's about 21% women across STEM. There's only 9% women in engineering. So I think there is a way to go, and we really do need to think about how you attract women into the industry, how you retain women, how you promote women, how do we get women into senior leadership roles, and really sort of think about what the culture is, and what is it that will attract women into the fibre sector.
I thought that was a particularly interesting bit, listening to the debate actually about, maybe we can talk about perhaps the way you attract women and girls into STEM careers, engineering careers, and then carrying on. But the way of keeping women in and promoting them and getting them into the higher levels is maybe something I don't know that I've heard be spoken about as much, but it was really interesting to hear that there's this sort of middle part of a career which maybe people hit a wall and don't go any further in their career. So that's just as much of a problem as recruiting people in the first place, surely.
Absolutely. I mean, we hear a lot about graduate recruitment, which is important. We hear a lot about women on boards, which is also important. But there is a missing vital step there, which is mid-career women. How do you keep women from leaving? Because the stats are really quite clear. Women love their STEM careers. 80% of women have said that they love their tech careers. But in the mid-career marathon, about sort of 40-50% of women leave. And we have to ask why that is. And it turns out to be really quite mundane problems. They're not accessing promotion as much as they want to. They're not accessing leadership training, mentoring. They don't feel supported. Maybe work-life balance is a problem. All of these are solvable problems. This isn't rocket science. This isn't sort of some kind of big problematic issue that we can't touch. These are all really quite simple when you break them down into their constituent parts. But I think that because there isn't much of a discourse around the mid-career marathon, and there isn't much thinking about, well, why are we losing women 10 to 20 years into their careers, then we're not actually coming up with the solutions to this problem because it's just not being recognised.
Sure. So there were lots of questions asked of the panel today. People seem to be looking for advice, which I suppose is a good thing. And there are lots of good answers from all of your panellists on there. It's impossible to summarise them. But for the people who are here today, for people in this industry who need to tackle this problem, what's the sort of first steps people need to be doing?
But I think there's two aspects to this. As one of the other panelists said, Kat, culture is a really big issue. That you have to have a culture where people are valued, where women are valued, where change is valued, and where we take this issue seriously. But then there's also the other side of that, which is about policies and processes. So when a woman is assessing whether they want to look at work for a company, they're going to look at the job ad, they're going to look at how it's written, what kind of language does it use, does that attract them or does it repel them? They're going to look at a company's website. Are the images all of men? If you have the icons, are they all very male? How does it feel? You don't want to apply for a job at a company that you think isn't going to value you. And so there's an awful lot of work that can be done around recruitment. The whole recruitment process can be looked at. Do you have a gender balanced interview board? Do you have a rubric that allows your interviewers to know that they're asking men and women exactly the same kinds of questions? Are you interpreting CVs and letters of recommendation the same way? And are you aware of the biases that come out in some of this documentation? Women are taught very early on to be modest. We don't hype ourselves up. And so, there has to be a sort of deeper understanding of where you can trip over in your recruitment process. Same for promotion. Do people have to ask for promotion? Are they nominated for promotion? How does that work? What are the criteria? Are those criteria fair? How do you take a part-time worker and compare them to a full-time worker in terms of promotion? Are you stymieing part-time workers because you're not valuing their contributions as much? There's all sorts of little sort of tweaks that can be made. I mean, we're not talking about like a major overhaul in everything. We're talking about looking at the specifics of what you're doing and saying, how can we make this better? And then the fundamental sort of benefit of all that is, turns out that making these improvements improves it for everyone, not just women. So this is a sort of a way to make sure that you are benefiting all of your staff.
Yes, you made that point strongly, and it was really interesting. The other part I just wanted to quickly get to, that's sort of in workplace, but what also was fascinating in the discussion was almost how far back you've got to start. So not just in sense of generally thinking about gender stereotypes, but even how that leads into what people might be doing at school, what careers people might be thinking about, and how that might impact on career choices and degree choices. But you have to start early, is your thought?
Absolutely. I mean, so gender stereotypes, children start to understand them by about age 4. And by age 5, they're already exhibiting those stereotypical behaviours. Children develop their self-identity over like the first 10, 11, 12 years of their lives. And so when you see, say, an 8-year-old going, oh, I love chemistry, I love maths, I love science and all that stuff, that can wear off by the time they're developing their understanding of who they are as a person, how they relate to the world, how they relate to the people around them. And a lot of this is down to sort of just societal norms. There's a really great organisation called Let Toys Be Toys that highlights the needless gender stereotyping in children's toys. And once you start looking for it, you start to see it everywhere. It's in books, it's in soft furnishings, it's in clothing. I mean, if you look at the analyses of girls' T-shirts versus boys' T-shirts, and girls are all kind of like princess and unicorn and sparkles, and boys are dinosaurs and adventure and space. And it's a completely different set of messages. So is it any surprise that girls are hitting sort of puberty, which is when these sort of decisions start to get made in their personality, about who they are, who do they present to the world, who do they want to be, that they are rejecting STEM subjects as not for them? And there has been a huge amount of study of this. And by the time we get to GCSE choices, it's essentially too late. So what we really need is we need younger interventions. If I had my way, it would be nursery. Like you would just get a load of like Lego and Meccano and get all the girls playing with these kind of construction toys, and then give all the boys dolls and give them the opportunity to learn caring and nurturing and learn about different emotions. Because, again, the way that we talk to girls about their emotions is very different how we talk to boys. And it's not healthy for boys. It's just to be clear, this isn't just about what's good for girls. It's also about what's good for boys. Boys need to be able to understand emotions. They need to be able to be nurturing and caring, because they have it in them just as much as girls do. So what we're really saying is, ultimately, the goal is to allow children to grow into the adults they want to be, rather than the adults that society tells them to be. It's all about kind of self-fulfillment for everybody, that we should all have the same opportunities, the same access, and the same support. It shouldn't be at all gendered.
Well, thank you very much. Look, it's an enormous topic. We've covered a huge amount of ground there in a short space of time, and there's lots more to talk about. But as you did on the stage earlier on. But thank you so much for talking to us about that, and we look forward to many more Ada Lovelace days to come. Thank you for your work on everything that supports that part of our industry.
Thank you very much, and I would love to encourage everyone to come along to findingada.com. Get involved in Ada Lovelace Day. Put on your own events next year. It's the 8th of October, and everyone is welcome.